What's going on, everyone? Welcome into another Game Day update. I'm Kelcey. I'm joined by Lauren Jbara for the first time as the Grizzlies take on the Hawks tonight. Thank you, Lauren, for being here.
Hey, Kels, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on for the first time. I'm a rookie, so don't be too hard on me, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So the Grizzlies have obviously played the Hawks earlier this year, but we talked to you guys on away games. So this is the first away game in Atlanta. Let's set the scene for the last game that these two teams played together. The matchup was back in November. The Hawks won by a lot, 132 to 100. If you're a Grizzlies fan, that was also the game where Ja hurt his ankle. He only played 9 minutes of that game. Doesn't take away from the loss. It's just a little added tidbit for you there. The thing that I look at in that game is the points in the paint. The Grizzlies have led points in the paint this entire season, and yet the Hawks, it was 64 to 46, absolutely destroyed in points in the paint. You even look at the Grizzlies lead. The Hawks are 17th overall, and yet Clint Capella has been going off, averaging a substantial double-double all season. So when a lot of people look at this game, Lauren, they're like, Trae versus Ja. I'm looking at Steven Adams versus Clint.
Yeah. And Clint Capella's coming off of a huge game. I mean, he had a double-double in the first half. I think he was 14 points, 11 rebounds in the first half alone. And him and Onyeka Okongwu, who I don't think was in the last time that we played you guys, because he was still recovering from his shoulder surgery. He's been a solid number 2 center for us coming into that second unit. Both bigs together combined had 25 points and 15 rebounds between the two of them just in the first half. So I think that their aggressiveness on the boards could be a huge factor tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. It's going to be a really, really exciting game. I know the Hawks want to get back on track, obviously, after a loss in Charlotte. 14 of the last 16 games at home, they've won. So State Farm Arena has been really, really kind to them. They've only lost 2 of the last 16 games on home court. So I think they're going to try to ride that momentum, that home momentum. And also they have a little chip on their shoulder. There was 6 minutes left in the last game against Charlotte. It was tied at 97 and they end up losing by 10. I know they have a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouth coming off of that one on Wednesday.
Yeah, I could see that. And it's kind of the complete opposite story for the Grizzlies, where they've won their last 4 straight. They had a win over the Pacers. But there always just seems to be this unwritten small rivalry with a few teams, and I feel like the Hawks is one of them. You mentioned rebounding, so we're going to go into that. The Grizzlies right now lead the league in rebounding, the number 1. The Hawks over at 21, and yet still the Hawks out rebounded the Grizzlies last game. What is up with this matchup?
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where some matchups players just get up for more than others, maybe, or it's just the size of a guy like Clint Capella, right? He's been solid all year long. He's one of the top 3 best rebounders in the entire league right now. And so I think it's just a guy like Clint. And I know as a team, that's something that they've really been working on this season, especially is with how big the 3 ball is in the NBA right now, with, the backcourt shooting a lot of threes. It's a lot of these long rebounds. So it's a lot of guards that need to be able to get these long rebounds. And I know as a team, that's a huge thing. And that's a huge thing that Nate McMillan has preached to the Atlanta Hawks, is getting those rebounds, every single guy 1 through 5, making sure you're aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, and then get out in transition. Don't allow teams those second chance points. And then offensively, we want to get those second chance points. We want those multiple effort opportunities. So I think that that's going to be really, really huge coming into this game at home.
Again, second chance points, another thing that the Grizzlies lead the league in, that has a lot to do with Steven Adams, but we've talked about Steven versus Clint, and I do think this is one of the matchups that will give him a big fit in the key. The other thing I want to talk about is fast break points. Yeah. The Grizzlies, once again, they lead the league. The Hawks over in 29, actually, bottom of the league, which surprised me because Trae does push the ball so much. So when we're looking at this, Dylan is finally back for the Grizzlies. That means there's another defender who's out there for the Grizzlies. But on the offensive end, with guys who run like Ja, even when it's Tyus as the backup point guard, who's the defensive stopper for the Hawks who is going to have that kind of job to slow this team down?
Yeah, again, I think that comes down to Clint. You know what I mean? He puts so much emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. And he even said Wednesday, he's like, yeah, it's frustrating when sometimes we feel like we need to be scoring 120 points to win some of these games. Some of these games, it's not the prettiest, but you got to buckle down on the defensive side of the ball. And I honestly think that that's why the Hawks are so low in fast break points, is because their defense hasn't necessarily been spectacular this season, but they have been able offensively to be able to outscore teams to win quite a few games. So it's one of those things where I think on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be led by Clint. It's going to be led by, obviously, John Collins probably is not going to be playing. Danilo Gallinari, they're the backup for. He went out last game with a right bicep contusion. So who knows if he's going to be playing. DeAndre Hunter has been sliding over into that 4 spot. And I know it's like less of a fancy game. It's more, about screening and getting in front of guys rather than ball handling. And so he said that was a little bit of an adjustment for him when he had to slide over into that 4 spot. But I think that that's going to be the thing is the big guys on the team being able to rebound the ball and stop them in that way, not give them second chance points, but just be strong on the defensive side of the ball, stay in front, make them shoot over the top. And especially when you lose the ball on the offensive side, get back in transition. And I know that's something Nate McMillan really preaches to the team. Get back in transition, put that effort in on the defensive side. And then the offense, obviously, what the Hawks are capable of doing is just going to flow from there.
Yes, absolutely. Shooting like one of the highest percentages from 3, like just, I think like one of the top in the league of offensive rating altogether. So
yes. Yeah. Offensively is not their problem. It's on the defensive side. They need to pick it up, especially against a team with the fast break percentage of, the Memphis Grizzlies. So it's going to be an exciting one at State Farm Arena tomorrow.
I'm so excited. Okay. So let's take Clint out of it. Let's take Trey out of it. Give us one Hawks player, like your third key guy, because it's been so long since the Grizzlies have played the Hawks. I think some fans might not remember some of the role players. Yeah. One guy who's got to have a good game tonight.
I think DeAndre Hunter, he's been shooting really, really effectively. And especially if, John Collins isn't going to be playing. He's still out and he's struggling with that finger injury and the foot injury. But if Danilo Gallinari is not playing, DeAndre Hunter is going to be sliding over into that 4 spot. He has to have a really big game on both sides of the ball, defensively, being able to screen, make guys shoot over the top. And he is one of our best defenders for the Atlanta Hawks. And then offensively, he's been averaging like 18 to 20 points a game over his last 4 or 5 games. So he's really getting the offensive side going too. And I think that he's one guy that's really going to need to have a good game. Another guy, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bogey off the bench. He gets the offense going for that second unit. And I think if he can get it going early, if he makes his first or second shot, it's going to be a good night for him. And I think that's going to be good for the Atlanta Hawks as well.
All right, Lauren, thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me, girlfriend. Appreciate it.
Hopefully we can do it again next season.
Yes, in for it. I am here for that.
All right, tonight's game, everyone, tips off at 6:30 Central. So it's a little bit of a weird timing, 6:30, and make sure you are watching on Valley Sports.